We love these cars. We've stocked some of the most luxurious and powerful and niche Mercedes-Benz on the planet. One of them that not a lot of people know about, the most bang for buck, and actually probably one of the best out there. So today we're going to show you a car that for me is a sweet spot in the market, and a car that if you're really smart, you really should be paying attention to. It's the SLK 55. Mercedes-Benz is really synonymous with so many different things in the market. Luxury, power, elegance, and all the other things that come with German engineering and build quality. Now you can see from here we've got a good array of different types of cars. We've got some beautiful 80s R107 SLs, the R129 which came straight after it, and then you've got the amazing like Goliath C63, which absolutely everybody knows, whether you're a car person or not. But the car for me that just people don't seem to know that much about unless you're a real car geek is the R171 SLK 55, which is what this video is predominantly all about. They're pretty, they're elegant, all the things that everybody thinks about with Mercedes, but they're also really clever and represent the good value for money that everybody wants in a second car. So the SLK was massive revolution back in the 90s, and the biggest selling point for me was the fact that you had this folding hardtop, what Mercedes called the Vario roof. Now everybody thinks with a cabriolet, with a convertible, a roadster, the downside is you've got a fabric roof. Downsides with fabric roof, they can be knifed and slashed, but also you get wind noise. So when they did the folding hardtop, the Vario roof, you got all the benefits and none of the drawbacks. And it just looks great as well. One of the really annoying prejudices that I think a lot of people put towards the SLK mark is a lot of people say it's a hairdresser's car. I don't think that's a very fair thing for lots of different cars nowadays. But I think it gets that negative connotation of being a hairdresser's car. And I don't think it's very fair, because what I think they did very well with this is obviously, and I'll show you in a moment, with the engine and the chassis and the setup, brakes, whatever, but also the styling cues. They didn't lose the sexiness of the car, the curvaceousness and the lines and whatever, but they've just put those slightly more aggressive bits in there, bonnet, down on the bumpers, the wheel style, the brakes, the stance of the car and things. It's just added to it so that you know what it is, but it's subtle. And again, that's what we like. That's what we like about these so much. So to debunk that whole hairdresser thing, let's see what's under the bonnet. I've got to say, I don't think there's any reason why a car this size should have an engine this size. But this is Mercedes-Benz very famous M113 5.4 V8. This engine has absolutely no business being in a car this size, really. I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that meeting when Mercedes-Benz had a brief meeting of what the SLK 55 was going to be like. Mercedes-Benz SLK 55 brief. Rear-wheel drive, two-seater, good size boot for touring, folding hardtop, big one. Hairdresser's perfection. No, I've got an idea. 5.4 V8. It's just wonderful. What a cool idea. When I'm talking about this car being a safe bet to buy, an appreciating classic, whatever you want to call depreciation proof, is when on earth is someone as big as Mercedes going to make a car like this ever again? It's just not going to, it's not going to happen. And the closer we get to 2030, 2035, whatever it is with electric rubbish, these cars are just going to keep getting rarer and rarer, and as time goes on, you know, less of them are going to be on the road. It's a statistical assurance, you know, it's always going to happen. There's obviously been in one form or another different engine codes, M178 and everything else. In E63, the G-Wagon even, lots of derivatives have seen this engine in one shape or another, and this one is naturally aspirated, so makes for a great noise, really predictable, nice and linear, 350 or so horsepower, you know, sub 5 seconds to 60, top speed electronically limited to 155. It's an absolute beast, but it's just right for the car. So quick fire info on this then again. So M113 engine, which came in lots of derivatives from Mercedes, V8, and is in its most common form, 5.4, naturally aspirated. Now we did an M113K, which was a supercharged version, which they put in lots of other variants. They did the G55, the E55, and later E63 used the same setup or a very similar drive. But as I said, this one's naturally aspirated. Info on it: 355 horsepower, just under 400 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 64.9 seconds. Now that's pretty quick, especially when you consider that the gearbox in this is probably leaning towards more of a comfort side of things. It has got sport settings in it, and it has got paddles as well, but it's old school. So it's got rather than having just a double clutch gearbox that you see in so many cars now, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche with the BDK, and obviously Mercedes in their later models, they did an MCT gearbox, which was a multi-clutch transmission. Again, similar kind of vibes, but this wasn't that. This is what they call the 7G Tronic, and I think they actually called it 7G Tronic Plus in these. I don't know what the pluses of that is, but exactly the same as far as I can tell. But it's essentially a traditional old gearbox. And when I say old, it's tried and tested. It's very reliable. But it isn't a manual box with an auto brain. It's a fully auto box with a torque converter. And that makes it slightly less sporty. So it's not super crystal gear changes. But what it does mean is that you've got a creep function. And when I say a creep function, if you put a lot of these double clutch transmission boxes into drive, you don't creep away in a slow fashion, and when you put your foot on the accelerator, it can be quite bitey. Yeah, it's not a reason why you buy a car, or a reason why it's even better than anything else, but I'm trying to explain and give some comparisons so you can understand what kind of gearbox feel this would have. As a result, you get very, very, very smooth gear changes. You tend not to know when the gears are changing, especially when you're driving around town. So it makes it a fantastic, really, really nice, subdued and quiet tourer, as well as a little sports car as well. But in comparison to what a lot of people are used to in modern times, when you're pushing on with this car, it won't give those lightning changes. So it's a little bit, I don't want to use the word sloppy, but it's not quite as poised as what some people would expect from a more modern out-and-out sports car. So I've long since said Mercedes do a lot of absolutely amazing cars that do so many different things, whether it be nowadays a car that you buy to do to the shops in little A-class. They do the smart cars, they do a C-class, which is a 3 Series competitor, your normal sales rep smaller family car in a saloon, in a coupe, in an estate. And then you get slightly bigger cars, slightly more executive, and E's, S, your 4x4s, your G-Wagons, all sorts, completely covering every single places. The difference between Mercedes-Benz now and Mercedes-Benz 20 years ago is they used to be an out-and-out luxury car for the masses, I would probably say. So they're a little bit more mass-produced than perhaps Porsches and Aston Martins and things like that, and obviously more price point in comparison. But their sort of aim really was to be a very, very luxurious, very niche car, and cars like this were a big part of that. But nowadays they are so competitive. They've gone up against your VWs, they've gone up against BMW, which are massively overdone mass-produced car on the whole now as well. I've worked for them for many years, massive admiration for the brand. They were really, really robust, well built, good customer care and everything else. The difference between 20 years ago when cars like this were coming out and now is, back then they were very focused on high quality cars, luxurious cars, niche cars, but they weren't mass produced. They weren't, not even slightly. Nowadays they're going to come up against, in comparison with likes of BMW, which are massively mass produced now, also the likes of Volkswagen, Audi, and the lights. Back when these were out, they weren't, as I say, it was mass produced, so they are a rarer car than what it would be if they released it today. That means rarity means value. So that leads me on to Mercedes-Benz in the classic, modern classic, second car, toys, whatever you want to call them, a car for the weekend, whatever. Now, they've been a really good contender against other cars for a very long time, because against the things like your Porsche 911s, your BMW M3s and everything else, they did seem to represent better value for money. They might not have represented the same type of car, you know, if they're the cars that you want. If you want a Porsche, you're going to buy a Porsche. If you want a BMW M3, you're going to buy one. If you're going to buy an Aston Martin Vantage, that's what you're going to buy, that's fine. However, if you're not aware of these, or you don't understand them that well, you're probably not going to buy one, because you're not going to ultimately understand what they're all about. So, Mercedes-Benz in the 80s, or in the late 70s, brought out the R107. A very, very prolific, classic Mercedes-Benz, very iconic shape, very iconic looks, and it was very, very popular in the numbers of cars that they built. After that became the R129, which is the slightly more modern, but still keeping that square look, keeping that very bulbous shape and everything else. Very recognisable as a Mercedes SL. That synonymous brand that Mercedes had made, as I say, in the very late 70s, carrying on through to the 80s, and then now into the 90s. Good things about those cars: if you bought one 10, 15 or 20 years ago, you will have made money on them. Absolutely, no doubt. You can't get away from that. Of course you will have them. However, two things. First thing, the likes of the R107, the cars from the late 70s, early 80s, they probably had their day. Their valuation curve has probably gone up at a rate, and it's probably peaked. In my opinion, I'm not saying that they're not going to appreciate anymore, but I think they've probably climbed to where they need to be, or where there is a certain plateau and level off. So if you're going to buy one, and if you're going to buy an exceptional one you're going to tuck away, you're probably going to pay top dollar in comparison to what it's been, as I say, 5, 10, 15 plus years ago. Now that's not a problem. If you're going to keep the car, there's still good investments and everything else. I totally get it. But the downside with cars of that age, everybody knows, and if they don't know, they should know, is maintenance. The rarer a car gets, the older a car gets. One, you need more parts to keep them going. Two, parts become rarer, specialists become more sparse, and as a result you end up spending a lot of money just to keep it on the road. So whilst the value might not have gone down, keeping it there has. And that's where the SLK for me, the R171, the shape, the SLK 55 comes in. Everything in these is modern, in so much as its functionality, the bits that it does, the bits that it has, its creature comforts. It might not be bang up to date in terms of aesthetics, because it's a 20-year-old car now, but it has climate control, it has heated seats, it has a wonderful feature that I just absolutely love to death on these air staff, where you get a heated seat effect, if you like, hot air on the back of your neck. Roof down in those sort of colder nights, having the hot air in the back of your neck doesn't half make a difference. You know, we've got cruise control, we've got a multifunction wheel, we've got parking sensors front and rear. This one's even got Apple and Android CarPlay. So you've got navigation, you've got full functionality with your phone. What more do you need? You know, everything else that's on these more modern cars you don't need. Yeah, it's great if it's there, but I couldn't give a toss. And certainly not in a car for the weekend and as a toy. It does it. It just does it, and it does it so bloody well. This was such a step forward for me with Mercedes. They used all their old recipe of comfort, luxury, reliable, properly built, everything that goes into a traditional Mercedes, and then they said, right, we're going to use that and we're going to harness it, we're going to make it even better. We're going to have that sports car engine, sound, feel and everything else, but we're not going to lose what we do well. So it's that perfect blend, like perfect hybrid of having comfort, having sports, all together. Right, so I'm coming onto a dual carriageway here. I'm doing 35 mile an hour, and I'm just going to pop it in sport and just hit the loud pedal. Not sure how much sound we're going to get out the back of this one. This one hasn't got any X pipes on it or primary decats or anything like that, which a lot of people do. So it is completely original, but it does still have that wonderful V8 tone, and it does not hang around. Let's see what we can do. These are quick, these are properly fast little cars. People just don't appreciate it. They really don't. If you haven't driven one of these, if you haven't owned one, you really should consider it. At the very least, drive one. Come and drive this one, but be prepared. You need to bring your checkbook, a debit card, a credit card, or a briefcase of cash, because you will want it. I can guarantee it. In fact, it's the Bluetooth. It's paired up. I might actually end up shrinking this just to see if the seller could be of something. So I can hear questions already. I can hear the things going through my head. People are going to be saying, yeah, but it's a big old V8 and everything. And that's fine, I hear it. Is it going to do, 50, 60 mpg that some people might want out of a car, 1.9 diesel Volkswagen Bora or something like that? No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. But so many people seem to forget that an engine like this is engineered to run big heavy cars. That's what it's designed for, and therefore it's just used to ploughing massive amounts of weight down the road in a fashion that people become used to in a car of that nature. Yeah, absolutely fine. It's going to do 20 miles to go. But as soon as you put a big engine in a smaller, lighter car that's not under stress, you actually find, serving my experience, you don't use anywhere near the amount of fuel you think you do. Not even close. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made when I bought a car for my wife was we went from a 3-litre Range Rover Sport to a 2-litre diesel Range Rover Velar. Now, on paper, you go, okay, it's a lot less power, it's a lot less displacement, it's a clever engine, it's more modern and everything else. But to get that weight going, you're having to work the engine harder. You're having to use more of its available energy to get the thing down the road. Well, this is the opposite of that. This is a smaller car with a bigger engine, so you don't use it even a fraction of its capable energy, its output. So therefore, when you drive normally, these things are biblical on fuel, considering their age, considering the type of engine setup that it is. Way better than some of its competitors. I mean, I'm talking way better. And people just don't realise it. As I say, you lead up on these things. These engines and gearboxes, they don't go wrong. They have niggles, like anything does. So there might be sensors and things like that happen all the way through any car's ownership. But all the cars that we hand selected, these, they have to have had that done, or they're done as part of their preparation. The big question then, how does the SLK 55 make me feel when I'm in the car? Well, it's an interesting one, because when I take most of these cars out or I take them home for the night, I tend to aim for what the car tends to represent, okay? So when I first took a Hellcat out, I knew it was 700 horsepower, I know it was a big muscle car. I just wanted to put my foot down and drive like an absolute booty bed for fun. I took a 911 home, a 911, just what it says on the tin. It's a 4-seater sports car. What does it sound like? How does it make me feel? It's just what it says on the tin. Now, sometimes you get cars that are Jekyll and Hyde, and I think these are exactly that. They are the car that makes you feel, wow, this is nice. Wow, this is comfy. What a nice place to be. It also gives you that touch of a button. I'm going to drive like my hair's on fire. How's that make me feel? It's fantastic. It's a great sports car. It handles really well, yet I'm not uncomfortable. I'm getting the sound, but I'm not getting the harsh ride. It's brilliant. It's that absolute blend of what you want, all things to all men, all people. It just does it all. If you need a 4-seater, you need a massive boot or anything else, this isn't the car for you. I get that. But if you don't, if you need a 2-seater, if you need a good all-round sports car, weekend car, trips, you know, away, high days, holidays, all those kind of things, this has to be on your list. As I say, it has to be. I've already said it, you need to come and drive one, whether it's with us, whether it's with someone else. You need to get your bum in one, because they are so underrated. They are so good at what they do. And I think if you haven't owned one and you are in a position to consider one or buy one, you need to. Hands down, above anything else, this has to be at the top of your list. Okay, so the R171 SLK 55. As a summary, is it a supercar? No. Is it a perfect family car? Definitely not. Is it a car that you might want for high days, holidays, weekends, fun, and everything else? Absolutely. On top of that, is it a car that you would potentially minimise losses, maybe have a short-term investment or long-term investment? Is it a car that's going to give you minimal hassle as a semi-modern classic in terms of reliability and servicing and everything else? Absolutely, wholeheartedly. So as I said at the beginning, if you're after a car that's going to do all those things, you want to have a smart buy without outlaying huge amounts of money. Remember, sub £20,000, you should seriously consider these as the next car. So that's it for this time. What I will ask for, as I have on every single video, is please like, share and subscribe so we can grow the channel, bring more content. We always ask, please give us constructive feedback. Put in the comments what you want to see further and next time, and we will try our damnedest to do that. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.